This is the Water Quality Association podcast, promoting the betterment of water quality around the world. And hello, I'm your host, Wes Bleed.
And I was able to take, which I think has always been helpful to me, is the understanding of a dealer business to a manufacturer who works with dealers. So I think it gave me a very good foundation for empathy and understanding of what an entrepreneurial business works with every day.
That's Ted Jones from Kinetico, along with his father, Ned Jones, talking about their family history in the water treatment industry. And welcome to the weekly podcast from the Water Quality Association, the leading voice of the residential, commercial, and industrial water treatment community. Find us at WQA.org. If you're a first-time listener or viewer, welcome. Glad you're here. If you've been with us in the past, we're glad you're back. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a show. That's the magic of podcasting, and be sure to share the podcast with someone you know. We also feature our podcasts on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/@WaterQualityAssociation videos to both see as well as hear our guests. In this episode, we're continuing our series of history in the water treatment industry as we mark WQA's 50-year anniversary. We're joined by Ned Jones, past WQA and WQRF president and chairman of Gordon Brothers Water, along with his son, Ted Jones, who is vice president of North American dealer sales at Kinetico Incorporated. They talk about their family's multi-generational legacy, how Ted was able to use his experience and transfer that to his position at Kinetico, and what they both see as the challenges as well as the opportunities for the water treatment industry. And so, on to my conversation with Ned and Ted Jones on the WQA podcast. And we're talking about the history of the water treatment industry, and we're doing that in conjunction with the 50th anniversary of WQA and the importance of family legacy. Here we have an industry, an association that's been around for 50 years, promoting better water quality through the point of use and point of entry water treatment products and solutions. And joining us in this podcast are Ned Jones and Ted Jones. And let me introduce them. Hey guys, let me introduce you briefly, and then we'll jump into our conversation about the importance of history within the industry. So Ned Jones is the chair of Gordon Brothers Water, past president of WQA and WQRF, and also past president of the Ohio Water Quality Association. And then Ned's son, Ted, is the vice president of North America dealer sales for Kinetico Incorporated, and also serves on the board currently of the Water Quality Association. So Ned and Ted, again, hello, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us, Wes. Appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Family legacy. I don't know if you guys have thought much about it, but we certainly want to get your thoughts. Ned, could you tell us how your family got started in the industry?
Well, actually, I'm the son-in-law, and the joke is I married the boss's daughter actually 60 years ago this year. Married for 60 years.
Congrats.
And she was a Gordon, and of course we're Joneses, which is a little bit confusing. But my father-in-law, Lloyd Gordon, started our company in 1945, and next year we'll be celebrating our 80th year in business with the same family. We actually have our granddaughter who's starting at Gordon Brothers, so we actually have 4 generations, which is kind of exciting to us. But I started in the business when I was 23. I just graduated from Miami University and I actually started in a job in Texas. It didn't work out, and came home one day to Carolyn, my wife's family, and my father-in-law said, of course, he wanted his daughter to be close to home rather than in Texas, and her business in Ohio, so he wanted her to be close to home. He said, what do you think about join the family business. And I said, well, I hadn't really thought much about it, but I was traveling all over the place in Texas, and I decided that we talked it over, and I thought we'd join the company. So we moved up to Ohio. This was in 1966. So I've been there 50 plus years at Gordon Brothers, and I started the business as a salesman, and it was out like most people in our business in the evenings, selling mostly water softeners. Wes, that's the kind of the interesting part of our business to me, is when we started, it was totally water softeners. Drinking water, reverse osmosis, all the things that we do today were the future. We hadn't even thought about it. It was a matter of getting your clothes clean, saving money, all the things that we still talk about soft water, but that was pretty much what we talked about back then. From that, at that point, the business was not dissimilar in the way we market. We still today, we go into homes and put on a demonstration. Yeah, we did the same thing back then. It was a little different in the fact that we didn't have any of the technology, so we used sales books and graphs and so forth at that time. And of course, we now have laptops and it's very sophisticated. But back then, it was probably a 2-hour demonstration in the home. One of the things that Ted and I were talking about last night, kind of getting ready for this, is how the industry's changed in this respect. Back then, it was all telephone books. That's how people would find you. And it was a matter of spending literally hundreds, thousands of dollars a year, month on telephone.
Yellow pages.
Yellow pages. Thank you, Ted. And today, of course, that's minimal. There's social media, and that's the big challenge today, to try to spend our advertising dollars efficiently.
When's the last time anybody's picked up a phone book, right?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. Now, let me toss it over to Ted then, and I want to get your perspective on this. So your family reaches the family business reaches way back into the 40s, and then here you are coming along in what would be the third generation, I guess, right? And now a key figure on the manufacturing side at Kinetico. How has all of that kind of passed on to you? What have you learned in the process of making the transition to your own perspective and your own element within the industry?
Yeah, I feel very fortunate, Wes, to have grown up in this industry. You know, during high school and college, I worked for the family business, doing every type of thing. Portable exchange tanks we had back in the day. So, you know, I would go out and, put those into homes and paint the store, go out and help fairs and home shows, whatever could be done. And so when I graduated college, it was time to figure out what I want to do. And I was thinking about going to the family business at the time. And we were in a small town of 13,000 people in Ohio. And I had an opportunity to go work for the manufacturer Kinetico, who serviced Gordon Brothers. And I was able to take, which I think has always been helpful to me, is the understanding of a dealer business to a manufacturer who works with dealers. So I think it gave me a very good foundation for empathy and understanding of what an entrepreneurial business works with every day. I mean, you just run into something different every day. So I just felt that my grandfather, Lloyd Gordon, who started the business, my mom, who worked in the business, my father, my uncle, I was just extremely blessed to have that insight of what they had done and did, and then be able to use it in my current position. So, yeah, it's very helpful.
And Ned, you mentioned the transition over the years of, going from the yellow pages onto what we now have. How has Gordon Brothers adapted to all of these changes?
Well, I think we're ahead of the curve on the yellow pages. We several years ago, we pretty much toned down our whole yellow page approach, and we now are in the index part of it, but we don't have any more display ads. And we've outsourced our social media. We have a company in our little town that handles 90% of it, and they do a pretty good job. We try to keep up with it, and I would say that, we monitor the leads, which is still the term we use in our business. And I think probably 60% of our business now is coming from social media. And
web and
yeah, the whole thing.
yeah,
Exactly. And of course, the rest of it is referrals and, coming from present customers.
Ned, I'll stay with you for this, and then Ted, if you could just respond. How has the whole concept of customer interaction, customer relationships, customer experience, how has that evolved?
Well, one of the things that we've done recently, because we want to try to maintain our customers, that retention is important. We found out that, and we didn't realize this, but some customers you lose in the fact that for whatever reason you find that you haven't seen them for 8 to 10 years. You don't know why they've gotten their product someplace else. So what we did about 8 years ago, we formed a club that we now can retain our customers, and we go out and see them. Actually, it's a free call once a year, and we make sure that that they're satisfied, and it's been a wonderful thing. So it's similar to AAA in the fact that you pay once a year, and you get benefits along the way, and then our retention has increased dramatically. So it's been a good thing. But taking care of your customers, and we think this is the edge that we have against Amazon and some of the things that are happening. In the fact that service is still, people want good service, and it's the most important thing that we can do.
Ted, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I well said, Dad. I think that the changes, if you look over the years, this was always a in-person or a phone business. You just had to pick up the phone and call people. Today, as you're looking at 2024, we're continually looking at what is the best way to communicate with our customer base. And what we're finding now, it's almost through text. Sometimes people respond to text more efficiently, more effectively than anything. How do we email? How often do we email? When do we pick up the phone? You try to call people don't answer the phone like they used to. But if you try to text them, many companies now are using CRMs that will tell somebody when they're coming out for service and how was your experience. And so I think the communication and customer support has really improved in those ways, but it is still challenging to figure out what is the best way to communicate and keep in touch and retain your customer base, and make sure some are doing newsletters and on quarterly basis and stuff like that. But I think it's all about finding the best venue. But I think that has changed over the years, of course, because there wasn't texting and emails and such back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. So
yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag, isn't it? On the one hand, you could say with simpler times, it was easier, or it was just a little bit easier to understand. And now things are more technical, and the technology has developed to the point where it's more complicated. Yet at the same time, you send a text out, it's easier in a sense to communicate with the customer. So it's it's a bit of a mixed bag, I guess.
Yep, agreed.
Then let me kind of lead you toward where we want to go and take the conversation, which is toward WQA. And that is, how are you staying on top of the latest trends, and whether it's technology or water treatment or emerging contaminants and those kinds of things?
Well, I'll jump in here first. I mean, the Water Quality Association has been amazing to our family and to Gordon Brothers and to me personally and the business that I do. My first convention was in 1988 in Reno, Nevada. I think I've been to 95% of the convention since then. So that is always a huge component of networking and staying abreast of what's taking place through breakout sessions and such. Of course, the website, the newsletters, government fly-ins. WQA is just really up their game as far as, the way they're communicating, updating all of us on what's happening, because it is a fast-moving, PFAS changes, Chrome 6 changes are just now happening. I mean, if you just blink, you're out of it. So highly recommend everybody If you're not a member of the WQA, please join. If you are a member of the WQA, please get more involved. My grandfather years ago taught me a concept, as my dad: the more you give, the more you receive. And so, if you're you're either part of the problem or part of the solution. And being part of the WQA is definitely being part of the solution. And I just can't thank the staff and everybody for all they do to keep us up to date on what's happening there, because it is the one source of truth, and very much appreciate that. So,
And Ned, you've risen to the point of being the past president. So I imagine you've got some level of support for the association.
Well, I sure do. It's hard to believe, but it's been about 25 years ago since I was president. So, we have a new president every year. I was thinking the other day, we have 25 presidents since I was there. And the technology's changed, but I think that, going back to Ted, I think the support is pretty much the same, if not better than it was when I was involved. And one of the things that we like to do is when we go to the conventions, we love to go and see our friends. That's a big part of WQA, I think, are the relationships that we have. We might be competitors. That's an interesting fact. We might be competitors. We have different brands that we are involved in, but that seems to be totally separated when we get together for the meetings and conventions that we attend. That's left at the door. And as we get older, the friendships are so important to us.
Yeah, it's a great point. Well said. Now, looking ahead, so we've got challenges and opportunities that the industry is really trying to grapple with, and you mentioned a few of those, Ted, just a little while ago. PFAS and lead continues to be an ongoing concern. So, where do you think, in general, the focus will be over the next, say, 5 to 10 years or so, as far as any kind of challenges or opportunities?
Ted?
Yeah, I mean, I think the opportunities, it's going to be around health. I think the consumer is at a heightened level that they've never been before, where there's an understanding. I mean, you have to be under a rock not to see on the news every other day, something about microplastics or any of these contaminants we've talked about. So it is about providing a peace of mind to consumers. It's not about utilizing scare tactics and scaring people into buying our systems or investing in our systems. It's about education and making a difference in people's lives. So I really believe, Wes, that how we tackle the Healthy H2O Act and some of these things we're working on with the WQA, how we go about that will be pivotal to our future. Because as my father said, back in the 40s and the 50s and 60s, it was all about living a better life, a better lifestyle, because your clothes are softer, your towels are softer, there's no more spots around your house, which is very prevalent still today. But the big aspect today is that 1% life support, that water that goes in you, is extremely important. And how we tackle that, and how we as an industry, from a final barrier aspect, I think will be very important. And I think we're looking at that from the association in a very thoughtful way, and how we go about that. And certification will play a big role. That our dealer base, our manufacturer base continues to get certified to show that we are leaders, we care about this business, and we know what we're talking about.
Curious, as we wrap this up, guys, advice for newcomers. Is it possible to start up a Gordon Brothers water company? Is it possible to get into this and get started today? And if so, and perhaps somebody out there has just started in the business, what advice would you offer?
First of all, yes, 100%. It is a great time to be in this industry. It's a great time to start in this industry. I would go back to the WQA as a great resource to get started. There's a lot of companies, a lot of manufacturers to vet and look at on what kind of products and services and support you get there. But this is a growing industry, as shared before, with what's taking place with drinking water, The knowledge and understanding of what they need is probably heightened. We're seeing that from the surveys that we're doing there. So just get involved, network. There's just so much information today than there was 80 years ago when my grandfather started, to really, really understand what you're doing. There's, you go on the web and you can get in different groups and find out information and ask people in different forums, Wes, today, as you know. So it's somewhat easier to get in business today. And there's also challenges today as well. I mean, there's business has been around for 80 years. So sometimes you're competing with business that's been around a long time. So when you open up your shingle today, you are challenged with that, but that's in any industry. So I think it's a great time. I think we're in the improving lives business. So if you want to sell something that makes a difference in people's lives instead of selling a widget, the water business is a great place to be.
Yeah, I was just going to add that we recently went to a Kinetico convention, and the reason I bring that up is that there were a lot of new people, a lot of young people that had just gotten started in the business. So I guess the proof's in the pudding. There are a lot of people that brand new. This was an award type of a thing, and these people were getting major awards being in the business 2 or 3 years. So I think that kind of answers your question from that point of view.
Certainly does, and very hopeful and encouraging news from both of you. So thanks for joining us. Ned Jones and Ted Jones, we just appreciate so much talking about the history of the industry through your family's perspective. Appreciate it.
Nice
Wes,
talking
thank
to you,
you.
Wes.
Congratulations to WQA for 50 years, and have a wonderful day.
Thanks for joining us for the Water Quality Association podcast, bringing you the latest news and insights from the association, our members, as well as outside experts to help you better serve your customers and grow your business. Learn more about water and water treatment at our consumer website, betterwatertoday.org. Learn more about professional certification, product certification, and how you can become a member at WQA.org. Until next time, this is Wes Bleed. So long from the Water Quality Association.